So basically just a handful of questions. I'm asking everyone the same thing.
Yeah.
Brad, again, originally from Victoria, moved away about 18 years ago, looking to come back, same retire, and he's a mechanic by trade, has run heavy equipment all of his life. He's more of a hands-on kind of guy than an office kind of guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't really care for office work.
Yeah.
Hence is why he wants management in place to make sure that they can still do the paperwork that he
Yeah.
doesn't like doing.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that way.
So he's the kind of guy that would spend as much time or more in the shop than in here,
Yeah.
and would rather have people doing the paperwork for him because he's not. That's not where his love is.
Yeah.
Passion is.
Yeah.
So basically, he's looking to find out, the moods of everybody here. What their intents or objectives or likes or dislikes would be. Working for a different person. Is it something you're open to or not?
Yeah.
So really, that's in a nutshell, that's all we're doing here right now. Is he wants to know, because
see
right
what-
now he's coming back. He knows virtually every player on the island because he was here. However, he's been away for 18 years, and
Yeah.
you guys had good relationships in the area. So for him to justify, because he can't justify buying this place as an asset, the only way he can justify it is if there's people working here.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you're going to spend that money, you got to be bringing in revenue. It's
You gotta bring in
a good turnkey operation.
Yeah, so that's really what it boils down to, because what he sees value and what Price Waterhouse sees as value, they're a ways away.
Oh, are they?
So the only way, after the auction in February, if Price Waterhouse takes too much away, this property will be worth one hell of a lot less.
Yeah.
And their position is do they wait that long?
Yeah.
But the cost of rebuilding is expensive too. His first offer was to take everything as is sitting away. They were too far apart.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they just sold 700,000 or 800,000 worth of equipment there now.
Yeah.
But for Brad, equipment is equipment.
Yeah. You can always buy
You
equipment.
can always buy
Yeah,
equipment.
that's-
There was way too much equipment here for what was happening in the last few years anyhow, so
Yeah.
it's no big deal for him.
Yeah. Yeah. If some of the stuff goes, it's not going to hurt the core operation here.
No.
What we're doing.
No. That's what he's really looking at,
Yeah.
is not to hurt the core operation, because now he's built it back up.
Yeah.
So, how long have you worked for the company?
About 30 years.
About 30 years?
Yeah. I actually started when I was in high school, my last couple of years in high school, and working summers. And then I worked, graduated, worked a full year, and then went to business administration for 2.5 years, and then came back.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did you do here on the day-to-day?
Well, I started off laboring, and then running equipment, driving gravel truck, class 1 license. So running equipment, putting pipe in, all that stuff, and then slowly started moving up. Most of my years were spent dispatching, running the day-to-day operation,
Okay.
like all the crews, the day-to-day stuff, the small jobs. Like Serge looked after the bigger subdivisions stuff.
Yeah.
But what his needs were, for equipment, I dealt with all that. Looked after the shop quite a bit too.
Okay.
Wayne wasn't always here. In the younger days, there was a mechanic or two, and I overseen that as well.
Okay.
And then still work, with Wayne. And there's always issues, right? What we want to repair. Maybe we're getting rid of a piece of equipment. We don't want to put any more money into that. And so you got to work with them that way. And then the public, dealing with the public, which I really enjoy.
Okay.
And you can just pretty much ask most everybody around. Every once in a while you have an issue with somebody, but I enjoy dealing with people. That's
Okay.
I've always liked it, and I seem to get along with people. So
Okay.
that's kind of so on the day-to-day stuff, I was kind of out there with everybody, picking up price jobs, all the small jobs, make sure they were done, septic fields, designed them, built them. So yeah,
Okay.
that was kind of the main stuff I did.
So, you basically read the blueprints, put the prices together,
Yeah.
somebody checked over your pricing, or you just,
Sometimes if it got to a certain dollar figure, then Serge or Dave would, check it out again.
okay,
And then other than that, it was just, I priced them and did them. And I was in the field lots too to make sure. Like my biggest thing was always that if I priced a job, I wanted to make sure it was done and made money.
mhm.
Because that's just, that's what it's
You
all about.
you always wanna make
That's my
money.
job.
Question is, did it always work that way?
Yeah.
Controlling costs, again, with the way the companies were organized. So as a project manager, just because of the corporate structure, how did you know if you were making money half the time?
Well, most of the time, on a day-to-day basis, I kept a tally. The smaller jobs, I could do it in my head, because if one or two jobs, it's pretty simple. Other than that, I always kept a running tally, roughly what's going on, and then once I got the computer system set in place, it was costing stuff. But that costing for me didn't always come in quick enough, because the timesheets had to be done and all that, and then you get your costs, but most of it, I kept running tallies on my own.
What software were they using?
I think they designed their own.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure, so that's something Dave or Serge or somebody could answer
Okay.
that.
What were the best things you've seen done in the company?
I think growth employed a lot of people for a small community. Did a lot of community things. A town of what do we got here? 3,500 people or something. It employed a fair bit. And I was always looked at. I think people were treated pretty good.
Mhm.
And a lot of the stuff, like I said, I was always the front dealing with a lot of the crew. That's another thing I did. It was a lot of the crew. I interviewed them and hired them and stuff
Oh,
like
you
that.
did a lot of the hiring.
Yeah.
Okay. Operators,
Operators, drivers,
drivers, everything.
the mechanics.
Oh,
Mechanics, I tried to get a second opinion. Just a bit more. A second person with me, but most everybody else I did.
mhm.
I'd say close to 90% of the hiring.
What would you say was the worst thing done here?
Got into this situation. Yeah.
So what do you see as the cause of this situation?
Well, a lot of it's markets. Things have really slowed down. Over the last 3-4 years, it really hasn't picked up. The company ended up with lots of lands, and I think that kind of brought it down too, because you can only support so much non-revenue properties, or even iron rights.
Okay. So basically, spread too thin.
Yeah, probably. I think looked at a big growth thing. If things happened, it would have been great, but
There's no contingency.
it didn't happen.
Okay. What would you change?
Focus more on the core contracting part of the business. The lands need to be maybe. The company was land rich, cash poor, is what ended up happening, and that's my opinion. Just seeing what's obviously lots of properties, but not generating enough revenue. So, maybe, which is happening now anyways. The properties are going to get liquidated. So, if you could focus on the core of the company, I think it would be a good thing.
Okay. Any issue working for somebody new? No
No.
matter who your boss is.
Doesn't matter if, you know, it's, as long as I'm treated fairly, I'm good. You know, I've been here, like I said, 30 years, and I've given it 110%, like on the weekends. Even now, I'm so used to it, I'm up here on the weekend, you know, checking doors and gates and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And guys say, what the hell are you doing up there on the weekend? I said, you know, somebody's still gotta keep an eye on the place, you know, so.
What, I mean, not knowing the future, what plans do you have?
Myself, nothing at this point. My thing was, we'll see what happens here first.
Okay.
And I've had, I think about 4 job offers. People asking, what am I gonna do? I just had another one today. But I said at this point, we'll see what happens after the auction. Or if somebody buys this place, and that's what, exactly my words, they're gonna need people. So hopefully I'll have a job here. You know, I was born and raised here, so.
Mhm.
But like I've got a job offer in Duncan and one in Victoria, and one in the Nanaimo area. Basically doing what I'm doing here. So,
Mhm.
but and the other one's in Fort Mac, and I've
Avoided that one, that's a back.
well, a
of
buddy
us.
of mine just went there, right?
Yeah.
He says, Jazz, you gotta come up here. And he's making big money, right?
Yeah.
He says, you know, he's only been there a month and he's already got a promotion to project coordinator or something. And he says, you know, there's jobs here. Come on. I says, no,
Mhm.
well, that'll be my last resort. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
understandable. I think that's all the questions I have to
Yeah.
ask. It's, like I said, just trying to find out. So staying on does matter. You're, I have no issue staying on, being hired,
No.
staying here,
No. Well, you know, like I said, I like the community.
job here,
you
job
know,
somewhere.
yeah.
It's a job.
It's a job. Like I say, as long as treated fairly, and you
Mhm.
know, and I work hard. I put the time in, and
Mhm.
like I say, I you know, been here all my life. I know, you know, the whole community and the whole Cowichan Valley. You know,
Yeah.
it's a good area. So
Yeah. Perfect.
yeah. Well, I think you know, it's good.
That's it. Thank you very much.